You were at the party. You showed up. You are wearing the right clothes. You are holding a drink you do not really want. You are smiling at the right moments, laughing at the right jokes, nodding along to conversations about things you do not care about. And yet, something is wrong. Because even though you are here, standing in the middle of the room, surrounded by people, noise, music, life, you are not actually here at all. You are somewhere else, somewhere behind your own eyes, watching, observing, studying the scene like a scientist examining specimens through glass. You notice things. The way she touches her hair when she talks to him, the way his smile does not reach his eyes, the way those two friends have been avoiding each other all night, the way everyone seems to be performing a version of themselves. You see all of it. The layers, the subtexts, the silent negotiations happening beneath every word, and you wonder if anyone else sees what you see. Then, someone turns to include you in the conversation. You snap back. You say something appropriate. You play your part. But inside, you feel it again. That familiar distance, that invisible wall between you and the world. You are in the room, but not of the room. Present, but not participating. Here, but somehow also very far away. And later, on the drive home, the silence in the car feels more comfortable than any moment of the night. You exhale. You were holding your breath for hours without realizing it. Being around people is exhausting, not because you hate people, but because you were never one of them. You have always been something else, an observer, a witness, someone standing at the edge of every circle, looking in. You have felt this way your entire life. In school, you watched the social dynamics like a nature documentary. You saw the hierarchies, the alliances, the performances. You understood the game, but you could never bring yourself to play it. Something in you refused, or maybe something in you was incapable. You could mimic belonging. You learned the scripts. You figured out what you were supposed to say, how you were supposed to act, what was expected. But it always felt like wearing a costume, like speaking a second language. Technically correct, but never natural. And underneath the costume, underneath the performance, was this persistent feeling, I am not like them. I do not belong here. There is something fundamentally different about me. Maybe you thought you would outgrow it. Maybe you thought that finding the right friends, the right job, the right city, the right relationship would finally make you feel like you fit. But it never did. The locations changed. The faces changed. The feelings stayed. That quiet, chronic sense of being on the outside, looking in, always looking in. And now you're wondering if this is just who you are, if you were made differently, if you will spend your entire life pressing your face against the glass of a world you can see perfectly, but never enter. Let me tell you something that might change everything. You are not broken. You are not defective. You are not failing at being human. You are experiencing something that psychology has only recently begun to understand, and it has a name. The observer effect. Not the physics principle. Something far more personal.
The observer effect, in psychological terms, describes a pattern of consciousness where an individual experiences life primarily through watching rather than participating. Their default mode is to witness, to analyze, to stand slightly outside every experience, even their own. This is not a disorder. This is not a phase. This is a fundamentally different way of being conscious, and it changes everything about how you experience existence. Let me show you where this comes from. Some observers are born. Research on temperament shows that certain infants display what psychologists call high reactivity. These babies respond more intensely to new stimuli. Their nervous systems are calibrated to take in more information. They notice more. They process more. And very early, sometimes before language even develops, they begin to adopt a watchful orientation to the world. While other children dive into experience, high reactive children pause at the edge. They observe first. They map the territory. They try to understand before they engage. This is not shyness. This is not fear. This is a brain that prioritizes understanding over action, seeing over doing, knowing over belonging. And this orientation, established in infancy, shapes everything that follows. But some observers are made. Childhood environments that are chaotic, unpredictable, or emotionally unsafe force certain children to develop hypervigilance. They learn that survival depends on watching, reading the room, detecting the shift in a parent's mood before it becomes dangerous, anticipating conflict before it erupts. For these children, observation is not a preference, it is a survival strategy. They could not afford to be lost in the moment. They could not afford to simply play, simply exist, simply be. They had to watch, always watch. And that watching became so constant, so automatic that it fused with their identity. They did not just observe, they became observers. Whether born or made, the result is the same. You grew up experiencing life differently than the people around you. While they were inside the movie, you were watching it. While they were feeling the moment, you were analyzing it. While they were belonging, you were understanding. And you assumed something was wrong with you, because the world told you that participation was good and observation was bad, that belonging was success and standing apart was failure, that being in the group was healthy and being outside it was broken. So you tried to fix yourself. You tried to stop watching and start participating. You tried to turn off the analysis and just be present. You tried to force yourself inside the circle. But every time you did, something felt false. Something felt lost, like you were amputating a part of yourself just to fit through a door that was never built for your shape. Here is what I need you to understand. You were never supposed to fit through that door. The observer position is not a failure to belong. It is a different kind of consciousness, a different kind of intelligence, a different kind of role. Let me explain what observers actually are. Throughout human history, every tribe had members who lived inside the group. They participated fully, they bonded easily, they moved with the crowd. These were the belongers. They were essential. They created cohesion. They maintained traditions. They made the group feel like a group. But every tribe also had members who stood at the edge, who watched, who noticed what the belongers could not see. These were the observers, and they were equally essential. The observer saw the threat approaching from the horizon while everyone else was focused on the fire. The observer noticed the pattern in the seasons that predicted famine. The observer sensed the tension between tribal members before it erupted into violence. The observer saw truth while others saw only what they wanted to see. This was not a flaw in these individuals. This was their function, their purpose, their gift to the collective. And you carry that same gift. Your inability to get lost in the moment is not a deficiency. It is a different kind of perception. Your distance from the group is not rejection. It is perspective. Your chronic sense of being outside is not exile. It is positioning. You are standing where you need to stand to see what others cannot see. But here is where it gets painful. The observer's gift comes with the observer's curse. You see everything. You see the performance beneath the authenticity. You see the insecurity beneath the confidence. You see the loneliness beneath the popularity. You see the cracks in every facade, the fear behind every smile, the desperation in every attempt to belong. And once you see these things, you cannot unsee them. You cannot go back to the innocent participation of the belongers. You cannot pretend that the surface is the whole story. You know too much, and that knowledge creates distance. Not because you judge people for their performances, but because you cannot unknow that the performance is happening. You watch people connect over shared illusions, bonding over personas, building relationships on surfaces, and you crave something deeper, something realer, something that most social interaction does not provide. This is why small talk feels like suffocation, why parties drain you, while you can count your truly close relationships on one hand and still have fingers left over. You are not antisocial.
You are depth-seeking in a world that often stays shallow. You are not cold. You are selective in a world that often connects indiscriminately. You are not broken. You are calibrated for a different kind of connection than what is usually on offer. Now, here is the part nobody talks about. The observer position is not just how you relate to others, it is how you relate to yourself. You observe your own life from a distance. You watch yourself having experiences. You analyze your own emotions as they happen. You stand slightly outside your own existence, studying it. This creates a strange kind of loneliness, a loneliness that persists even when you are alone. Because even in solitude, there is you, and there is the you that watches you, and they never fully merge. Some people call this depersonalization, like you are not real, like life is a movie and you are watching yourself play a character. But that framing misses something important. This is not a malfunction. This is meta-awareness, the ability to observe your own consciousness as it happens. Most people are so fused with their experience that they cannot see it. They are the fish that cannot see water. But you see the water. You see the aquarium. You see the room the aquarium is in. You have a perspective on your own existence that most people never develop. This is why you ask questions others do not ask, why you notice patterns others miss, why you feel like you are living in a different reality than the people around you. Because, in a sense, you are. You are conscious of things that most people experience unconsciously. And that level of awareness is both a gift and an isolation. So where does this leave you? How do you live as an observer in a world built for participants? The first step is to stop trying to cure yourself. You are not sick. You do not need to become a belonger. You do not need to force yourself inside circles where you do not fit. You need to find circles built for observers. They exist. People like you exist, scattered across the world, hiding in plain sight, looking just as normal as everyone else, but carrying the same distance behind their eyes. When you find them, and you will find them, the recognition is instant. You do not have to explain yourself. You do not have to translate your experience. You just see each other.
Observer to observer. Finally witnessed by someone who understands what witnessing costs. The second step is to use your position instead of apologizing for it. You see things others miss. This is valuable. In relationships, you notice the real dynamics beneath the surface. In work, you identify problems before they become crises. In creative fields, you capture truths that belongers cannot access because they are too inside the experience to see it. Your observation is not passive. It is a skill, a rare one, and the world needs it more than you have been told. The third step is to give yourself permission to step back. You have been forcing yourself to participate out of guilt, saying yes to gatherings that drain you, maintaining relationships that feel like performances, pushing yourself into spaces where you do not belong. Stop. Your energy is finite. Your depth of perception comes at a cost. You cannot observe at the level you observe and also participate at the level belongers participate. Something has to give. Let it be the forced participation. Protect your energy. Choose your engagements carefully. Go deep with few rather than shallow with many. This is not antisocial. This is strategic. This is knowing yourself. This is living according to your actual design instead of a design that was never yours. The final step is the most important. You must stop waiting to finally feel like you belong. That feeling may never come, not because something is wrong with you, but because belonging was never supposed to be your primary experience. Your primary experience is seeing, understanding, knowing, and that is enough, more than enough. It is rare, it is valuable, it is needed. You have spent your life feeling like an outsider, like something was wrong with you because you could not get inside the circles. But what if you were never meant to be inside? What if your position at the edge was not a failure to enter, but a success at something else entirely? What if the distance you feel is not emptiness, but perspective? What if the glass wall between you and the world is not a prison, but a lens? What if being an outsider is not your wound, but your purpose? The observers have always existed, standing at the edges of every tribe, watching what others could not see, knowing what others could not know. And when the tribe needed truth, needed warning, needed someone to say what everyone else was too inside to perceive, they turned to the observer. They turned to you, not the belongers. You, the one at the edge, the one who sees, the one who has been watching all along. You are not broken. You are not exiled. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. And the world, whether it knows it or not, needs you there. So stay at the edge, keep watching, and know that your distance is not your weakness. It is your power. It always has been.